Welcome along to another episode of the F1 Fans UK podcast. I'm Dan and I'm joined tonight by
Chris.
Danny.
Welcome, guys. Right, we've got no Reese, no Tim, no one else yet again because they're flaking out because they're not committed to the podcast. I'm personally thinking, right, I'm just going to throw it out there because I haven't spoken about this before. I think we just call it the DD&C podcast, but I think we ditched the F1 Fans UK part because they're not participating. I'm just saying.
We could follow on the DDE trend. DDC.
That's it. Yeah, I'm thinking we do it. I think we do this.
Daily driven
Tim,
conversations.
And, Reese.
We missed them, guys.
No doubt.
Right. Let's start with someone that's obviously been kind of not given the recognition over the last few months, should we say, that he should have received. Valtteri. Let's go with you, Chris. What do you think about Valtteri's performance at Turkey?
I thought he drove a very accomplished race in difficult conditions. He's shown the driver he should have shown that he can be. And he just hasn't shown it all season. And it's nice to be able to sit there and say, good job, Valtteri. But it's in the back of your head also that you're not going to say that again this season.
So, good job, Valtteri. I like to say good job, Valtteri, but we can't forget that the past couple of months, Valtteri has been driving kind of crappy. Russia, he just let Max overtake him without putting a proper fight. So I guess the love for Valtteri and the hate for Valtteri is kind of warranted. But anyway, good race. It was raining. He's not a good wet weather driver, and he actually won. He actually didn't face that much pressure from anyone really all race, and just drove an easy, calm race and benefited Mercedes more than anything.
I don't think it actually was raining, was it, for most of it?
Yeah, but wasn't it kind of like light drizzle rain like the whole time, pretty much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
is that normal with Turkey weather?
I don't think so, Danny. I don't think it's normally like that in Turkey.
Was last
more
year.
bombs than there are rainstorms. But no, I think he done really well, and I think the fact that he was able to take 26 points away from Max is what he was up there to do. The fact that he managed to get the win and the extra lap, and the fastest lap, obviously minimising, what would it be, maybe 8 points that Max would have got more if he finished and got the fastest lap. So so
about 8 points, 9 points.
Yeah, so he obviously minimised it by 8 points, only got 18. Lewis only got 10. So I think the championship standing is at like, what is it, 8 or 9 points, something like that, maybe 7.
Is it not 6? Or was that me dreaming?
6, I think.
I don't know. It's the biggest it's been in a while.
Yeah. To be fair, it may possibly be 6. And obviously we've got Max has won 7, Lewis has won 5, and they both had roughly about the same kind of podiums and stuff as well. So, I think we're still really into the fact that it's going to be a close championship again.
Has Lewis won 5?
What was that, Chris?
Has Lewis won 5? I thought they'd won.
Lewis has won 5.
4?
Yeah, he's won 5.
No, he has 5.
Max has 7.
Bahrain, Portugal, Spain.
I tell you what, as we are
Great Britain and Russia.
As we are debating Lewis, let's jump on to the master himself of wet weather racing. Yeah, I think it was an absolute phenomenal drive by Lewis. I don't think he should have come off those tyres. Personally speaking, I think if Ocon can do it, Lewis can do it. And I also don't think that they fully told Lewis how many places he was going to lose whilst pitting. And I think if he had known, I don't think he would have pitted, personally. Chris?
I don't think it was a mistake to stop him. I don't think the tyres would have held out. I think he would have hit the cliff. His lap times had already dropped by 1.5 seconds a lap. And they weren't, so was it 15 seconds behind him? And you can't tell me he didn't know the two cars were behind him. I thought Lewis drove a very accomplished race. Did I say that about Valtteri? Accomplished. That's 3 or 4 syllables? Accomplished. 3 syllables. He drove a very, very good race. Some good overtaking. But it's just wasn't his day. It wasn't meant to be. But he minimised the gap to Max the best he could, and we look forward to America. That's his track. So hopefully we'll come away with there with 26 points.
Well, he should have pitted, but he should have pitted earlier. 8 laps earlier, I think, something like that when they called. Ocon's pace dropped dramatically in the last stage of the race, and Hamilton was nearing that cliff as well. Leclerc was at that cliff, and he experienced it. Yeah, we understand Lewis is also a master of preserving tires, but there's no way he would have kept it going. We would have had a China 07 incident again, and he would have been looking at a loss of 18 points today. Instead, he was able to salvage it, and the championship is, 6 points, like we said? I think that one he should have listened to the guys in the pit wall. But if there's anybody that can make it last, it is him. So, I think it's one of those decisions that should have been done earlier.
I wonder how much of it was based on last season and him thinking that I did it last season, but at the same time last season he ran 50 laps on one set and 8 laps on the other, which is what he did this year. But the conditions were different. I think it was warmer last year, wasn't it? So the tires were working better. But
and to be fair, I think the abrasiveness of the track may have played a part as well, because it's a very grippy track, wasn't it, this year compared to the slip fest it was last year. But I still think he could have got 4th or 5th. But that's just me. I'm just like, let's just wing it.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. If he didn't pit, maybe he would have lost one position. He would have lost to Perez on the podium. But if he pitted earlier, I believe he would have netted 4th place, maybe 3rd. Good fight with Perez, but
you look at 4th.
Yeah, I think it should have been done earlier.
4th and 5th were too close together, and if his tires fell off the cliff, and he lost those 2 spots, and then his tire blew, we'd all be sitting shouting bother at the TV.
Yeah, true. I guess as race fans, like, you can't really please everybody, but yeah, I suppose so. I will bend to Chris and Danny. I suppose they are technically right. The risk did outweigh the reward for them potentially. Right, as we brought up Perez, let's go to the number 2 driver from Red Bull.
White Bull.
The White Bulls, yeah, but see, I wasn't sure at the beginning, right? I felt the same way when I saw the White Chocolate Lion. I didn't like it. It was too much change, but I gave it a go, and turns out that I liked it. And the same with Kit Kat, but that's a completely different podcast. We're not going to get into that. But I think he drove absolutely amazing. Solid race. I would have preferred him to be a position or 2 back, points-wise. But, as a drive went, amazing drive for him. They got both their cars on the podium. From a Red Bull standpoint or a White Bull standpoint, amazing day for them.
Yeah, Perez has shown in that race what he should have been shown for the whole of the season, really. because we all know what he's good at, and it comes down to a race where he's told that he has to get points for him to actually perform, which I don't know. Max was at his flawless best again. It's just, but I'm getting so frustrated by the comparisons of him being the best in the world, one of the best in the world drivers, when he hasn't won F1. Just frustrated with him. I'm frustrated with everything to do with Red Bull.
This is just a maturity for Max. He didn't fight for the lead. He didn't go he wasn't aggressive in turn one. Kind of let Valtteri go. Maybe he was thinking, Valtteri's probably going to bin it somewhere and I'll just take the lead. So he just drove like that, and if he got second, he got second. So it's just very mature for Max. Something a bit surprising. Perez, another podium for Perez. He's been having a good year for Red Bull second driver, but for his expectations, it's been pretty even for him. But yeah, just another great podium for him, and a great battle with him and Lewis, where they were pushing each other wheel to wheel.
Yeah, that was a great battle.
Sector 3 in Turkey it was great. That sector 3 just gives us good racing, and just see them go through all those turns. And but yeah, it's good racing from Perez.
I've got to say though,
good battle.
Through the cat amongst the pigeons, and I know I've just slagged off how potentially good Max is. Is Sergio underdriving the car, or is Max overdriving it?
I think it's purely the fact that the car's set up to Max. I don't think Perez would give two shits about outdriving Max if he was able to. I think he just needs, finish out the year in the car. And, there may be a point of Max is getting more, more help in a way compared to what Perez is. But I don't think Sergio's holding back, or I would hope to think he's not holding back.
Holding back or maxing himself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel on the matter, Danny?
Well, it's Max's team. It's his team, and I guess he can say he doesn't care who the second driver is, as long as it doesn't impede his style and impede his the feedback that he gives to the technical team. I just don't think Sergio is driving to the best of his ability and the best of the car's ability, more than Max is out driving his car that he's been there for the past 4 years now.
I look at Perez at the minute, and I can't help but think that if he didn't have that contract in his pocket before he got that result yesterday, Gasly would have been on the way into the team again, because his results have been poor up to this weekend. I think Red Bull were a bit
that's possible.
Driver in.
But I don't think Gasly would go there. I really don't think he wants that toxicity of
but he's not
that Red Bull team again.
It may be toxic for him, but it's the second best car on the grid. Maybe the best car on the grid. Yeah, well, the constructors now say it's the second best, but why would you not want to get in that?
But he
car?
had that chance.
He had the chance and he blew it, but he was a kid.
Yeah, he had that chance, and I think Red Bull are going to do their due diligence in getting a second driver before they get Gasly. Gasly would be like the last.
I don't think.
I ran out of my 3 options. Gasly's number 4. We got to pick up Gasly.
I don't think so.
There's where I see Gasly in the Red Bull hierarchy.
I don't think so. Would he be still in the AlphaTauri if he wasn't potentially suitable to get in that Red Bull? And his results this season have proven how good he can be. As he's grown, he's matured, and I think he would be a really good fit. Maybe you've managed to flick Max off the Ferrari or something
Just see you later, Max. Cheers, then.
Yeah, bye,
Bye.
mate.
Bye, good buddy.
I do have a wish list for Gasly, though. I do wish after Lewis retires, Mercedes picks up Gasly. I think that'd be a great combination with Gasly and Russell in the top team.
I would rather see Lando Norris.
But we got maybe 2 seasons to worry about that.
Get Lando Norris in there beside him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think Lando Norris is really committed to that McLaren? Because they are making
He is very committed.
very
to
good.
That. Yeah.
They are making very good strides in their program. Right, as we brought up Mr. Pierre Gasly, let's talk about him and Alonso quickly.
But we just talked about anything that you talk about Alonso.
No, Alonso was
we were
wrong.
talking about McLaren.
That penalty was wrong, and the FIA were wrong.
Hold on, which
Facts.
penalty?
That he got for spinning out Alonso.
Who are we talking about now?
Lap 1.
What team were we
Chris.
talking about?
I just said we're talking about Pierre Gasly.
Right. I thought you said you were talking about Alonso and
Talking about his penalty.
No, I said we're talking about, as you were already talking about Pierre, we're going to talk about Pierre.
all right,
So,
I'll go back to sleep.
right. Chris, how do you feel about the Alonso Gasly penalty?
I was disgusted by it. It was absolutely shameful. It's just, oh my God. They have so many replays and so many screens, and that got a penalty, yet bloody Mazepin didn't get a penalty for what he did to Lewis. You could have had 2 cars flying through the air, but, I don't know what
I
Alonso
just don't
did
think he
was
should have been out there.
Gasly did.
He went in too deep. He ran himself wide. What was Gasly meant to do? Just go, let's
Gasly
just
was
get him
stuck,
through.
wasn't he? It's not the first time Alonso's been on the wrong end of 3 cars wide. But the FIA have just
Yeah, he has a history of just trying to go for the outside on turn 1.
Yeah. I think it was just embarrassing. It was an embarrassing punishment, and so hopefully someone at home has just slapped somebody silly for it.
Kind of seems like Alonso's MO is to go on the outside of every turn 1, or to try to find a Mario Kart shortcut. But he didn't find it this time. I don't know if you guys read Michael Massey, the way he explained it. They blamed completely on Gasly. Gasly received a complete blame on it. I don't think it's right. I think they discounted the fact that Perez was coming on the inside in the rain, and where would Gasly go? There was only 2 options for Gasly: either knock out the sister car in Red Bull, and both cars will be out, or just try to give Perez enough space. And Alonso aggressively trying to come around. You can't see that. It's a very hard situation for Gasly. I think it's unfair. I don't think it's deserved.
But wasn't Gasly ahead?
They kind of the penalty was.
Wasn't Gasly ahead?
I guess so.
Perez
I guess he was ahead of both of them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So then it was his corner.
I think the penalty should have left it alone. I think there should have been no penalty, a reprimand. That penalty ruined Gasly's race. I believe he would have been in the running for a podium.
And he's also got
or at least a good battle with 2 penalty points.
2 penalty points on his license.
So it's kind of crap.
It's a first lap incident,
crap.
and they're usually left alone, so I don't know why they've got the penalty. Sorry, you're going to have to use your beat machine.
From what I read, obviously, I read what motorsport.com put out, obviously, regarding Michael Massey, and it said that the key thing that obviously that impacted it for Gasly, that he was deemed to be responsible in accordance to the procedures agreed before this season. Well, I'm sorry, but did Alonso not agree to these procedures as well? Sticking it on the outside of cars that have nowhere to go, like, what is the point? And yeah, it's a first lap incident. Okay, yeah, it may have been avoidable, but why should Gasly avoid Alonso when he's not doing anything wrong? Why should he give up a corner or give up places just because Alonso feels he's playing a game of F1 on his bloody Xbox? It's pathetic.
Surely if Gasly got a penalty, then Perez should have got a penalty for being on the wrong side of Gasly to push him into Alonso. If we want to start getting stupid about
There's no
it,
rhyme or reason with Michael Massey.
I like Michael Massey. I think he's done a lot of good things for the sport. But there's these niggling little things that keep popping up every now and again that just piss you off.
Right, so let's turn to Mr. Lando Norris. Finished 7th. Good drive from him. Took 6 points away from everybody else. So, he did a lot better than Danny Rick did.
Well, that's not first, is it? That's not the first time this season, is it?
No.
No.
I think he did tremendously well in the wet.
I think he did very well. I'll say it again. He drove an accomplished race. It's my word of the day. But
is this your word of the day calendar, Chris? Is this do you have a word of the day calendar? I think maybe we should get Tim and Reese one.
Word of the day Twitter. Yeah, he drove a Lando Norris race. He drove what we expected him to drive. It was a difficult race for him to even think about moving forward. That car was twitchy all weekend. So to drive that twitchy car in wet conditions, I can't imagine what it must have been like. So top marks for Lando. Why they decided to stop Danny so early, I'll never understand. But it ruined his race. He did sort of come back a bit towards the end, but that was more of a what could have been.
Yeah, we finished P7. I think Ricciardo was a victim of bad qualifying and just couldn't come back. I think he ended up something like 12th, I think. He was 16th for most of the race behind Russell. Yeah, it's just weird. The Ferraris had a great race, and I'm sure we'll talk about them later. But the McLarens just, I don't know. We ended up seeing Norris running behind Gasly, but it's just a quiet race from McLaren, and just a struggling race for Ricciardo. Try to come back from the back because we saw Sainz just absolutely tear through the field, and Hamilton also did a really good job coming up from 11th. But yeah, just a bad, not a great race for McLaren, but a Ferrari definitely did catch up to them in the standings.
Just jump in there. You say not a great race for McLaren, but if this was this season 2 years ago, we'd have been saying that's the best race we've seen ever from McLaren since they stopped winning.
Yeah, but to answer that one, the expectations for McLaren, they are third in the standings. They're a top midfield team. They're Alonso Button McLaren or the Alonso Van Doren teams of 17 and 18. This McLaren team, their expectations are higher. They're fighting with Ferrari which is great. We don't that brings spotlight to the sport. McLaren versus Ferrari. 76. 98, 99, 07, 08. We get to hear those years. Those years was just McLaren versus Ferrari, and they're just not at the top yet. But yeah, it wasn't only one person scored in McLaren, and it was a 7th place. It's not that great a race. It's just more saving face.
Yeah, it's. I think it's kind of like what Chris said. It's they did the best they could with that car. The car was a bit scarce. Danny didn't qualify that well. And they made bad decisions putting him very, very early. So I think, all in all, that kind of 7th place, was a decent outcome for them. As Danny wants to bring up the Ferrari so much, let's skip to number 8, Carlos Sainz. Yeah, exactly. Cannot fault his race at all.
Took positions when he had to take them, and just pushed his way through. And it was quite telling when you've got the likes of Danny Rick back there, starting where he started, and he blasts away from him. It's just Charles, I was screaming at the TV for him not to pit. You know, I actually thought it would be quite nice to see a Ferrari win. And I was like, don't pit, no, what are you doing?
To be fair, he did ask the question, like, what happens if I stay out? Where am I going to place? And I was just like, stuff it. If Lewis ain't going to do it, come on, Charles. Let's just do it, mate. Let's just be on that. Let's just absolutely go. But yeah, you know, Sainz did a good race, and the fact, like Chris said, I think the fact that he was able to make his way through the track, through the grid, and yet Danny Rick wasn't. I think that kind of says it all for the weekend for them.
Yeah, and this is something Sainz is he's becoming to get notoriety. You know, he's beginning to get notoriety now. Coming from the back, picking up a lot of space, a lot of places up on the grid. Excellent race. Maybe if we had a couple safety cars or some wonky stuff going through the race, we might have even seen Sainz go higher. That's he just drove a very committed race and just very strong. Leclerc, yeah, I was screaming at the TV with you, I guess with you guys, because I was hoping he wouldn't pit, but Valtteri was just coming up on him really quick, and they had no choice to box. And I think Hamilton should have taken, when Leclerc pitted, I think that's when Hamilton should have pitted, and I think it would have been a little different race.
That was around,
I think Hamilton would have caught up to
like lap 42 or something, wasn't it? I think they come out, they had the tires ready, and then they just didn't end up doing it.
I think what happened.
And Hamilton stayed, lap 51, I think he went box.
52, I believe. But no, it was 50. Sorry, 50 out of 50. I think you saw Charles drop off the edge of the cliff, and I think that's what would have happened to Lewis. You know, because the Valtteri was just gobbling them up. You know, it was like Pac-Man. They were flying up and just chewing everything up behind them, and I think that's what would have happened to Lewis. So I think.
But I'm just going to throw this out there. Obviously, with Lewis not pitting, being in first, Valtteri coming up behind him, and Max, do you think there would have been a potential for Valtteri to hold Max up enough so that Lewis didn't have to push? Or, you know, I'm throwing out hypotheticals because we haven't managed to upset anybody yet.
No, I don't think so. I think that the pace that Lewis was going to lose time at.
Yeah,
I don't think they could have afforded.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, you know. But right, let's move on to Aston Martin. Lance Stroll, the one that they didn't fuck up at Aston Martin, the one that they didn't go, do you know what? Let's just do an absolute crackhead move and ruin one of our drivers' races. But I thought Lance drove well, didn't have any issues, didn't fall out with anybody, didn't really kill anybody. Like, you know, on a whole, not a bad race from them. You know, they finished top 10. It's acceptable given the conditions that race was in.
He was average best.
Yeah, but he's always average. That's nothing new.
What the hell were they doing putting mediums on bloody Vettel's car? Why would you not put softs on it?
Why would you put anything other than inters on him?
Inters, but mediums, really?
Not even soft.
Nope. They did it purely because, right, the tactical F1 team of Aston Martin, they listen to the podcast and they like to annoy Chris by making Dress to say mediums.
There's just no need for it. The little Scottish can just do one and leave the rest of us to enjoy the sport by ourselves. Anthony Davidson, Jenson Button, I thought he was good at the weekend. Where's Martin Brundle? Has he just jumped off a cliff or something? Talking about falling off cliffs? Has he gone base jumping or bring back
Hey,
Martin?
yo, Dresta, don't listen to him.
Don't
like
start.
way more than I like
Don't
Green
start.
Chandok.
I'm going to start a petition to remove all Scottish commentators.
Hey, what about Coulthard
He's
in Channel 4?
Yeah, he can go
he's
as well.
not that bad.
Yeah,
He's a
Coulthard
square
be the first one
jawed,
to go.
weird. Can't stand Coulthard. Natalie Pinkham should be the only one to stay. And she shouldn't be allowed to wear a mask. Or anything that's not skin tight. There we go. I've offended all the women.
Yeah, Danny, you have anything to say about Mr. Stroll? That doesn't involve us having no Scottish viewers.
Daddy's cash. Average race. There's just nothing to talk about. Stroll. He just scored points. The leading scorer for Aston Martin this weekend. That's about it. But Vettel, he said that he made that call for mediums, and maybe it's Vettel trying way too much, or engineer Seb taking over driver Seb. But it was just it's a pretty absurd call for Vettel.
Maybe
and Aston Martin for agreeing to it.
Maybe Aston Martin made the call and then said to Alonso afterwards, unless you go out in that press conference and say it was your idea, you're going to be out there picking up rubbish around the stands again.
Oh, man. There it is. That's it right there.
I just think when you're looking, they're currently sitting at 61 points. The closest people to them are AlphaTauri with 92, right? Below them, you've got Williams on 23. Why are you taking risks like that when you need to be catching Alpha and Alpine? You don't need to be falling back in points. You want to be getting the most money as you can at the end of the championship.
Exactly.
Tell me this, Dan. Do you know where we can get 3D wall art printed race tracks from?
I do indeed, Christopher. I do know where we can get such items by our sponsor, Apex Tracks. That's APEXTRAXS.com for all of your 3D printed track art needs.
Apex Tracks, you think I would know that?
Yeah, but I have actually ordered a Silverstone for my cousin's birthday, and he's going to be absolutely buzzing. But Chris, right?
I hope he's not listening
Me
to
and
this.
Danny did the last one. No. Well, by the time it comes out, his birthday will be done. But right, we were discussing last week, me and Danny, I think it was a week before, about the Abu Dhabi, right? When we go to Abu Dhabi this year, is it Abu Dhabi new with the shaved curves or whatever it is?
New. It's the new one.
So it is the new one. See, look,
Yeah.
right. If you listen last week, me and Danny chat absolute shit. We just like, they haven't had time to do it. This is going to be the old one.
No,
But I totally blame that on you. Yeah, but turn up to a podcast every now and then. Hook a brother up.
Oh, whoa. 2 podcasts I've missed. And, I take a lot of tablets, a lot of junk. I get very grumpy. Look, I even killed a fox. That's how pissed off I get.
Okay, but it's a toy fox. Okay.
He's got a polar bear. Or
Dan has a polar bear as well.
I want it.
It's an Arctic fox.
So
That was
cuddly.
No, Christopher, you are not allowed it because you'll kill
I want
it.
I want it.
Right. Speaking of useless things that Chris wants, let's move on to Ocon.
okay. I'll get you.
He finished P10 again. Over a lap behind.
Not good enough.
They're not really performing that in this race. I know the conditions were bad. They were struggling. Nobody knew if the rain was going to really truly stop, whether we were going to get on to mediums or softs off the whatever tires or something like that. But I just think, 10th is not good enough from them. They need to be pushing. They're currently, what are they, 5th? They don't have you know, many points more than AlphaTauri. They're probably not going to catch Ferrari, but still, you know, they need to be putting in more of an effort than 10th and...
Especially when you look at the qualifying effort of Alonso in 5th.
16th. Exactly, yeah.
The car is not a bad car. It's got some poke in it. It's a well-designed car. So, you know, what the hell's gone wrong? Ocon's been on a declining slope ever since he got his new contract.
Exactly.
Ever since he got his win.
I've got a win, I've got a contract. I'll just drive like crap.
Yeah.
As for Alonso, that was a deserved penalty. I didn't hear him cursing himself over the radio after he did it, but it was nice to see him apologising to Mick Schumacher after the race. A lot of drivers out there wouldn't bother going out and doing it, and he made the effort to go and apologise to him. So, respect point there for Alonso.
I think Alonso had no choice, mate. I really do. The Schumacher fandom and fan base, or whatever you want to call it, is so strong. I think he would have been too heavily criticised had he not apologised to Mick.
This Mick Schumacher fandom needs to back off.
Yeah, he didn't apologise to Gasly.
Danny, what are you saying?
I feel like the Alpine, I feel like the Renault engine in that Alpine is a solid engine. We haven't seen the gremlins that it's had in the last couple of years, especially when it was with Red Bull. So I think they might have worked on their engine. I just don't think that car is the chassis, the aero package, everything. I don't think it's the strongest. It might be like the 7th best or the 8th best, and I think it's a hindrance to them. But Ocon didn't pit. We saw what his tires looked like. They were down to the canvas. He made it last. He did lose a lot of time at the end, and he just made it in 10th place. Alonso, now going to Alonso, you know, he's a young driver, and just you see these young driver mistakes.
No,
that he
no, you can't be a young driver when you're 50. I told you this last week. It don't work.
I've got to say 2 things on that. No one says Ocon. It's Ocon. And what was the other? You said something else. You said Ocon. And it's chassis, not chassis. Alright, the rest you need to sort your accent out. And there was something else and I've forgotten.
Can't have been that important then, Chris.
It was something to do with Alonso. Something he said about Alonso.
Young driver?
No, before that.
Being really aggressive?
Before that.
We talk about the canvas, Ocon's tires.
That was it.
He didn't pit.
Yes. Ocon took his tires down to the canvas. And he was driving maybe 2 seconds of a lap slower than Hamilton. And that was the damage he did to his tires. You know, that to me sort of throws up a warning light. You know, that if you're driving 2 seconds a lot faster than that, that's the way those tires end up. And you saw them after you saw Lewis's race tires after the race. So anyway, they're completely bald. Anyway, back to
no, that's true. That gives into that argument that Hamilton should have pitted by looking at Ocon's tires. Hamilton, despite running more downforce, I know people might think that more downforce on the car might hurt the tires more, but that's necessarily not the case. It just helps them in the cornering, and it can prolong the life of a tire instead of hurt it. But yeah, you know, we never know. That the tire debate will go on and on now into F1 lore. But just to go back to Alonso, yeah, he was just really bad driving. He's trying to make up for that turn 1 mistake, and then he hits Schumacher at the end. It just it makes good TV. It makes really good TV to see Alonso, the person that beat Schumacher, go to his son and embrace him. You know, I think that's pretty much it. It's just feel good TV to some people. But yeah, it is what it is.
Right then, as we have dealt with Ocon and Alonso in conjunction with him as well,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
And apparently the Apple Watch wants to chime in.
That was just rude.
It was rude. See, it's because the Apple Watch, it just wants to just get involved about everything. Right, let's move on to the two Alfa Romeos, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen. It's just one of them things. You've got nothing to say, Chris, did you say?
No, nothing to say.
I think, yeah, exactly the same. It's just a stagnant race from literally 10 down. It was just an absolute shit show from that point,
I really hope that Michael Andretti comes in and puts a shit ton of money into that team and does something with it. Because they're not showing signs of improvement. They're not showing anything. They've had a world champion in their car for the last 3 years, and he's done nothing.
Yeah. Considering Alpha has had, it's a pretty looking car. It's a nice name to return to Formula One. It's always underwhelming. A lot of amateur mistakes that they make. And they just end up seeing in that they always end up in 11th, 12th, 13th place. And it's kind of a shame. Yeah, just a race of nothing really special about them. Kimi did have a good run in the beginning of the race, in like the first part of the race. But then he got stuck behind his teammate. And Alpha weren't keen on making that switch. So that kind of took anything away. But yeah. Yeah. That's why they're behind Williams in the standings. Williams is a team that has kind of learned from their past mistakes and will jump at any opportunity to make points. Yeah, they got lucky with Russell's podium that one time, but it's still a team that generally performs better now than Alpha. Even though this race wasn't that case, Alpha did beat Williams, but
there was nothing.
That's why we see Williams ahead of them.
There was nothing lucky about that podium. At the end of the day, George qualified in that position. You see,
he qualified, yeah, but the race wasn't.
Max won that
ran.
race.
It was just one safety.
A lucky win.
Yeah.
How many? You're going to go through that whole grid and say that all 22 cars were lucky to be where they were. It's just sometimes the ball rolls your way.
Yeah. But they ran more than 3 laps on that race. Russell wasn't going to keep that spot.
Maybe not, but you don't know.
It is what it is, and yeah.
Okay, right, so we've dealt with the Alphas then. Kind of just not really a lot going on then. Do you feel we've dealt with Danny Rick at McLaren in 13th? Do you think we've touched on him enough?
Done.
Yeah. Now let's go to the hype train man himself in 14th, Tsunoda. I think he's fell off the tracks. Just, another average drive. And when you're sitting back in 14th, wedged between basically, Alfa Romeo and the Williams, I think you need to have a hard look at yourself and think, what am I doing wrong that my counterpart is doing right, and I need to fix something, and I need to fix it really quickly because he got signed for next year, didn't he, I believe? But if he keeps driving like this, I can't see him in 2023.
He turned around and says, I can't believe I've been signed for next year.
I think he's an engine manufacturer advised driver, I would say. He's heavily being put forward for that car.
Now, Sonda got no say after the end of this season.
I don't know. Yeah, legally they have no say, but engine prices, all that sort of stuff. I think it's all a factor, and I think it is a factor because, let's face it, right? If you're AlphaTauri, you could at least name 5 other drivers that can get in that car and maybe perform better than Yuki has. Fact, or am I lying?
You don't know how much money he's brought to the team.
Yeah, that is true, and we spoke about the driver support, paid drivers, and all that sort of stuff before. But I just feel that he should be doing better. You know, he should not be one position above George. Not taking away from anything that George has done, because he is wringing the neck of that Williams. But that's not where you should be sitting. You know.
I think he had a good start to the weekend, and I thought he had a good start to the race, and then he just like he gave up.
Yeah. He had a good defense. He was holding Hamilton for a couple laps back. Wasn't making any mistakes. Was putting the car in the right place. Held Hamilton up for a couple of laps. But yeah, I think he spun around towards the end of the race, and he lost a lot of positions there. You know, at least he didn't bin it. You know, at least he didn't totally wreck his race. He ended up in a respectable position. He was in Q3. I think I mentioned on the Discord who out of the top 10 are going to be not going to end up in the points. And nobody chose Tsunoda.
When was the last time he was actually in Q3?
Tsunoda?
Yeah.
I don't think our podcast is long enough to Google that.
I wish that our listeners could have seen Danny's thinking about it face.
Yeah, to be fair, one day I think we have to do
a live video.
Yeah, a live video podcast when we do this thing, and invite some of the guys from the Discord, so they can kind of see what goes on. Obviously, we'll have to mute them so they can't really get involved in it. But yeah, I think it'd be fun.
We sound like three stunning, handsome blokes with muscles that
so
are
then you're
ripped.
saying then when they see us, they're going to realise
we're healthy as hell.
That we're middle-aged and bold.
Sexy. And yeah, we're going to disappoint the world.
Right, let's go to...
Maybe you two.
Hey, Danny, calm yourself, okay? Just because you're the only one with hair in the group today.
I think Danny's joined the Marines.
You think
you
what?
joined the Marines?
No.
Well, because he's had a haircut?
No, sir.
Yeah,
no.
It looks like he's had a crew cut. Do you want to be a
Right,
Marine?
Chris, right, Chris. We need to move on. Let's go on to somebody that is not disappointing, Mr. George Russell.
Hey!
Okay. He's in 15th, but he is yet again above his teammate, which is what you want as a driver. He's done the best in that car in the wet race, in the wet conditions that he's done. So I think on whole, after qualifying and practice, I think it's a respectable position for George to be in.
I think that showed over the weekend there the lack of downforce that the car is running with, and the level of difficulty they're running the car with, because we know how good George is, and he was smiling when he got out the car. So, you know, he's drove hard and he's had a good race. So, 15th, but I'm still pleased with him for that.
Yeah, he had a good qualifying, right? He missed out on Q3. Yeah, that Williams is just terrible in the rain. And, give George credit because he took that car as far as it could, you know, in the rain and the handling, the low downforce in this tricky weather driving. He did the best that he could. But Latifi was kind of straggling in the back. And, yeah, you do want to see that. You want to see Russell, the Mercedes driver for next year, perform his teammate in every weekend now. And we are seeing that.
I want to see Latifi next year in that one. I think he's underrated. And I think he's been overshadowed by a powerful driver. But I think he himself has had a confidence knock early on in the season that's just followed through. And I think if he can come out of that at pre-season testing next year, I think Latifi could be something.
Going to next year, we're going to see Latifi versus Albon. And a lot of people have Albon high on their list. I don't have Albon that high on my list. If Latifi Albon, it's going to make it an interesting matchup. We'll see how it goes, but I'm pulling hard for Latifi on that one. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I just like him. He's a nice guy. You know, he's pleasant, he's polite. If you want to interview him, he'll come over. And he's not Mazepin. You know, and they're both the same generation, same age. You know, and the
Not the
polar
same
opposites.
money though, Chris. Not the same money.
And that
Money
maybe-
makes you an asshole.
That maybe helps with the polar opposites.
Not the same source of money, but that's a different discussion.
You're gonna have to, you're gonna have the Russian snipers out.
Yeah, I know. I'm dead.
You're dead. Rest in peace, Danny.
They're already here.
You can't see it,
Good
but
job,
I'm
young
waving
buddy.
a Russian flag.
Right. Let's move on to Mr. Young Driver himself, Mr. Alonso.
We've done Alonso.
Now, I just want to bring up again, he needs to stop sticking his car in situations where he's forcing other drivers to, one, get penalties, and two, make mistakes that ruin their race, and just start driving like an absolute...
That's what Verstappen does.
And we've discussed the fact for the last 5 or 6 years, he has drove like an absolute... And he's managed to get away with it.
It's what Senna used to do, isn't it? You put your car in a place where you make the decision to turn in and have a collision, or you get out of the way and go up the corner. And if Senna did it, it must be right.
Welcome to Formula One's new bromance, Verstappen and Alonso. Yeah, they come from that Senna train of thought. I'm not a big fan of that train of thought. It sounds great on TV. It looks great on the old videos, on old VHS tapes. It looks great, but I think Senna's cost himself a couple of championships with that mentality.
I'm interrupting.
Okay.
In 1989.
At least one.
In 1989.
Yeah.
He was robbed by Bala French guy.
Balestre.
Balestre. Prospect, mate. Why would you put
the
a
funny
chicane
thing? The funny thing about
in the
89
middle
Japan
of the runoff area
is what? Yeah, because he was supposed to be penalized for the marshals helping him restart the car, right? And he was penalized for cutting the chicane where he had nowhere to go. It didn't make sense to go back to track. But hey, this is 1989 podcast. I'm sure they covered that
made
already.
enough space within the tire chicane for a car to get through. So why is that a penalty? He was robbed.
Well, I'm sure the people in 1989 dealt with that one, Chris. I don't think that's a situation.
Yeah, did you see Ron Dennis going on it?
I did not see Ron Dennis. Ron Dennis can go at it all he wants. Big up
That
Ron.
was-
I'm a supporter.
Ron Dennis went Fernando Alonso, bad guy, on against him.
Right,
Anyway.
moving on. We've done Mr. Latifi. Let's get to Mr. Sebastian Vettel on 18th quickly, as we did kind of deal with him before. Regarding on whose idea it was to even go out on them tyres, they need to either have their heads wobbled or they need a different job. Maybe T-boy, such jobs.
You got like inters, which are down here, pointing towards the floor, and you've got softs, and you got mediums up where I can't reach. Why would you not go, let's take this little step? Those tires aren't that high up, we could take those. Stupid. Do you know what? I wonder, and I wondered it a lot during the race, would a set of soft slicks have worked? Oh, there was a drying line showing in a lot of areas. And
So what you're saying is softs would have been maybe the better call than the mediums.
Yeah.
You think he'd have stood much more chance of staying on the track?
I think he was maybe a bit too early still. But sort of 5-10 laps later, the track was showing from the overhead, from the helicopter shots, it was showing that there was a drying line. And if you can keep those tires warm enough on those drying lines, they'll still hold when you hit a wet spot. And a driver with the skill of Vettel can take that. He can drive with that. So I don't know what they were doing, putting them out on mediums.
He couldn't drive with the mediums.
It's mediums. It's mediums. We're all Scottish now. It's mediums.
Okay, Chris. Danny, you? Have you any more input than that?
It's just crazy. A 4-time Formula One champion would do something like that, even if it's him that made the call or that he had his intermediates were being worn out a bit, and they were going a little bit bald. It would have been better if he ran that set of tire in that way for the extra, I think maybe 12 more laps, and then, like you said, Chris, go for the soft. There was a drying line. It wasn't very big, but he would have had good clean air if he would have just had one big pit stop. It would have been in a more competitive position. And you're right that soft tire in the wet. If you do an overtake on the wet, it will continue to keep its grip when it returns on the soft part of the track. We saw that Imola this past year. It was just a bad call from Aston Martin. Terrible place to see Vettel up there with his buddy Mick Schumacher. But yeah, it's just a bad race to forget. Yeah.
As you brought up, Mr. Schumacher, fellow German buddies down in 19th. Christopher has a hand raise. Yes, Chris.
Before we leave Aston Martin, has everybody seen Bond yet?
No. I have to work, so I haven't managed to see it yet. It is on the list to do. No spoilers, Mr. Chris, please, because we don't need to talk about that. Let's talk about what we're here for. Mr. Schumacher. Danny.
Race was ruined by Alonso, but in reality, where would he have ended? Let's be real. He would have ended up in 16th place, 17th. It's just that Haas car is terrible, and just the drivers are okay. It is what it is. Just on to the next race.
Yeah, it's a car. You can't expect to drive in the rain when you can't drive it in the dry.
Fair point. As for Mazepin,
well, let me put these comments out there. That was just driving. That was being an asshole out there. You have Hamilton coming up behind you. You have the blue flags coming, and you deliberately go into the racing line into a high speed part of the track. I was hoping to see a Senna Irvine incident where Hamilton goes up to him and just grabs him by his race suit and gives him a good just tell him how it is and tell him what he has to do and don't play with races like that.
Forgotten about it by that point, but it was dangerous.
Yeah.
In my world, I'd have black flagged him for that. Never mind a 5-second bloody stop go or whatever. I'd have black flagged him.
Yeah, but I think from a sporting point of view, realistically, he's going to finish 20th anyway. Is it really worth black flagging him? I know that's kind of biased, and I know we should have obviously tried to teach him a lesson for what he did to Lewis. And to be fair, not just Lewis, if it had been any driver in general, really, but especially one that's competing for the World Championship. But I just think that, what's the point? He's not doing anything. He's not winning races or anything like that. What I would like to just throw out there, has anybody seen the way that Red Bull trolled Mercedes after the Turkish Grand Prix?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, on Twitter, the special livery, and they got a double podium. Yeah, that was funny. But they didn't win the race, though. Mercedes did win this race.
I'm going to go back to what you were saying there about Mazepin. If he doesn't get a penalty, how does he learn? For a start. And when the FIA don't even bother to investigate him for that move, what does that say to the rest of the field? Firstly, you've got drivers that want protecting. Lewis needs to be protected from a driver that's going to drive like that. Secondly, you've got drivers that are going to cause an accident by driving like that. You're not educating them.
Okay, yeah. In hindsight, I kind of agree with what you're saying, though. If you don't get penalised, you don't learn.
But he also should have got points on his licence. If he had been penalised, he'd have got 2 points on his licence.
Okay, that would have been more of maybe a wake-up moment for him. But I think that his mentality and how we've seen that he behaves on and off the track, with the exception of walking around that lovely kid around the garage, giving them a tour, letting them sit in the car and stuff like that. I think he's generally and he wouldn't care because how do penalty points work? Is it per season? Do they get worked at the end of the season?
It's every 12 months. So it's 12 months from the date they're put on.
I just really don't think he would have really cared about it. Something I did forget to bring up actually when we went through Lando. Did anyone see him on this morning show? Anyone catch that?
Yes, I did, yes.
I thought it was amazing that they managed, that they managed to get that car in the studio. Also, it was a very, very good interview as well.
It was good,
Lando.
Really good interview. And
yeah, I've seen that interview. You
don't know Holly Willoughby, baby? She was quivering.
Right, okay, can we not, I feel we're probably a fraction away from a restraining order from Natalie Pinkham. I don't feel like we need to up the game and have Holly chimed in on that same restraining order as well. So I think
Holly
that is probably...
and Natalie on an episode of Celebrity Juice would be awesome.
No, Chris, stop. On that bombshell, we are going to end...
And on that bombshell.
Yes, Danny, on that bombshell, we're going to end the podcast. So from me, Dan, it is good night, guys.
Is that it? We're done? It's like, that was just sort of cut off nicely.
Dan, you're going to hop on the PlayStation.
That's all it is. I want more PlayStation time. I'm not even going to start to edit this tonight.
Right. FYI, I'm going to leave this in the podcast just so people can see the abuse that I get on a weekly basis. I'm currently recovering from the coronavirus.
Oh, wind your neck in. You had man flu.
And I would like to say goodbye. So Chris and Danny, in that order, would you please like to say goodbye to our lovely listeners?
Cheerio, guys.
Thank you, guys. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter. Our Discord server is on there as well. So, just go in there, participate, join us.
And buy stuff from our shop.
Oh, our shop, for sure, yeah.
T-shirts, jumpers, and I'm sure we have other stuff for sale.
Household items.
And it all goes towards making prizes for you.
Well, Chris, you sound very much like a used car salesman there. But yeah, just to reiterate what Christopher said, don't forget to check out all of our socials at F1 Fans UK. We've got Insta, Twitter, Facebook, also our Facebook shop as well, where you can get t-shirts, you can get mugs, bottles,
jumpers.
Jumpers, yeah. Sadly, none of these are wearing theirs. I find the lack of support appalling. But I'm going to end it on that one, and we'll.
How many items do you have in your wardrobe?
Here we go.
In 2 weeks, guys. Thanks for coming.